Hey there everybody, Decaff here with another Scratch modeling tutorial for you. Today we're going to go over Shutter's method, and I'm going to tweak his method just a little bit to help make it a little bit easier for everybody starting out. Until you get really good at cropping and approximating things, this method will prove a little bit easier to use. So what Shutter's method does is it pastes an image onto a plane that we can then move inside of Blender. So one of the neat things that we can do is either have them spaced out like this, or we can snap everything right to the origin so that our model looks like this. Now that's not too useful, so I liked having them spaced out like they were previously, but this is an interesting way to look at your airplane. You can use these images here to quickly go between all the different view modes and see what your plane is supposed to look like. Rather than with my background image method, which is just a quick and dirty way to do it, where you have to change the background image every time you change your view mode, this just allows you to switch between all the view modes really easily. So let's go in and take a look at this. What we're going to need is our background image from before, our nice image that we found and made sure that it looked pretty right. All the dimensions seemed to match up and were properly scaled to each other. And what we're going to do is we're going to crop all these guys very close to the edge of the drawing. So if we go ahead and look at this, for example, we'll see that I'm just going beyond every single point here. Just a little bit beyond. And I do that because we don't want a lot of excess material showing up in Blender. Another thing that I did that you can see in this image is that I went ahead and deleted extra material. So if we were cropping the top view right now, you can see that we'd be taking up some of the tail over here and pretty much most of this view. So I just went in with a tool like Paint, very similar basic image editor, just erased that stuff so it's just white. And I did that just so it looks a little bit neater. It's not necessary, but I think it helps you a little bit. So once we have all of our images cropped and all set to go, what we want to do is take a look at their dimensions. So this is a tool that Macs have where you can just find out some information about a file, and it lists the image dimensions here as 850 by 629 pixels. So this is the width and the height of this image. So what we're going to do is we're going to use these dimensions here to create our plane inside of Blender. We're going to just move the decimal point 2 to the left on each of these, and that's going to be our X and Y dimensions. So let's go ahead and create a new part here, and we're going to add in a plane. And what I like to do is just bump this up to 1, 1, and I do that so that we get, oops, what happened there? Oh, I know. I was looking at it from the wrong view. So I like to bump this up to 1, 1, just because I want a vertice at the origin. It makes it easier when you're just scaling this to get it to the right dimensions. So go in here and we're going to want to select these two vertices, and we're going to want to move them out to 8.5. But one thing to pay attention to is where these are right now. Look and see how this is at x equals 1. But if we look here, clearly we are at x equals 2. This is because we are in the local values rather than the global values. The local values will reference everything to the object center, which is right here at 1, 1. But if we go to the global values, it is at 2, 1, where our selection is right there. So that's what we want. We want it to be in global. Otherwise, we're going to get a really skewed plane. So we're going to bump this to 8.5, and then we're going to select these two up here and bump those to 6.29. Then we are going to snap the cursor to the center here, and then go back out to object mode and hit center cursor. That allows us to now snap our plane to the very center of our model. So here we go. There is our plane, it is the right size. It's 850 pixels by 629 pixels now. And now we're ready to map our cropped view onto this plane. Well, how do we do that? First, we're going to go into wireframe view. Then we're going to switch out the bottom window here by clicking over here. We're going to switch that from the button window to the UV image editor. Now we're going to go into the textured paint mode and then right back into edit mode, because this opens up a different edit mode specifically for mapping images to the planes. So now we're going to go ahead and select our image. We're going to hit open and we're going to select our cropped image. So go ahead and find wherever it is, because I've been practicing this a little bit and setting this up for you. I have already mapped the directory to the folder, so there we go, top image, and there we go. Here is the image that we want to paste in. Note how this is pointing to the left, just like in our regular image. And now we're all set to go ahead and put it in. So we're going to go to textured view mode, and there we can see our image. Now, one thing I want to note right here that you might find a little troubling is our image has switched directions. It's been rotated 180 degrees. Well, that's okay. One of the things with Blender is that you want the nose of the aircraft always pointing towards the positive X direction. This setup allows the export scripts to export the model correctly and allow YSFlight to interpret the model correctly. If we didn't have it like this switched around and we had it like this, our model would be backwards when we load it up in YSFlight. So one of the things, if you find it is not the way you want it to be, for example, the side view might be upside down or something that looks really, really funky, what you can use is the transform properties window to go ahead and rotate it, scale it in the like a -1 scaling in the X direction. We'll flip this back to the right way that it was set up. So you can use these properties here to go ahead and get your images all lined up and all set up with the nose pointed to the right. And once you get all of them in, you're going to find that your model looks very much like what we started out with. It's going to look like this. Now, before we spread all of these images out so that we can begin modeling, what we want to do is scale them to the right dimension. So we want to scale it so that our airplane is about the right size, but we want to apply the scaling to everything. So we're going to select them all and scale them like this. Now I'm just going to use about 20 meters here just as a rough estimate for what my model should be like. But go ahead to Wikipedia, look at the basic dimensions, figure out exactly what you need to do. You might need to scale this a little bit to shrink the wingspan, for example. Whatever you might find you need to do, go ahead and do it so you get the basic dimensions all set up. So now that we have it all scaled, now we can go ahead and move these guys out to their various locations. And they'll all be scaled the right size, they'll all be set up the right way. And now we can import our cylinder right into the center and begin modeling. So just a quick little review. This method is great because we can go in and look at all the views very, very quickly. We can see them without having to move our background image around. It's a little bit harder to set up, but it is well worth the effort that you put in. So if you have any questions about this, go ahead and throw them in the comment section down below. I know when I was first starting out with this, it was a real headache trying to figure it out. But if you got any questions about it, I'll be happy to answer them.